Well, hey, all you flight junkie knuckleheads. How you doing out there? Hey, I just want to make a quick video here. This is going to be a real short one. One of the things I do, and if you watch some of our videos, you know the difference in the quality of the equipment of Fresh Breeze, but we use a totally different system on everything. From the exhaust being triple jointed to the cylinders being nickel silk coated, in large cylinder heads, high energy ignition systems, high performance roller bearings, reinforced crankcases. But one of the things that we do that's different than the other ones out there on the market is we have this incredibly fuel efficient float bowl carburetor. A float bowl carburetor works like a toilet kind of. There's floats in there, and as you use fuel, the floats go down, allows more fuel in. As you don't need it and you back off the throttle, the float bowl fills up. Now the only drawback to this occasionally is if you're pulling a high G spiral dive and you're on low idle, you're going to pull the floats down and let too much fuel in and you could shut it off. But hard turns, I do incredible aerobatics in this thing. These guys are out there watching me. I mean, you've seen the turns I do. I do 180 reversals. The motor doesn't quit. So anybody tries to tell you if you have a float bowl and you pull a tight turn that's going to drown out the motor is lying to you. Float bowls are amazing. I pull some of the most incredible aerobatics using a float bowl system. And the nice thing I like about them is they're extremely dependable. There's no diaphragms wearing out. Diaphragm carburetors suck, in my opinion. They only work good on the tiny motors like the top 80 and things like that. They're a little more dependable on those, and we have one on our smalls. But I always prefer the float bowl over that, and they're unbelievably efficient. I get way better fuel efficiency out of them. But one thing that I do when I come in at the end of the night, for a couple different reasons, is I'm going to shut off my fuel. Now, if you bring that camera over here for a second, I think you might be able to get in here and see this fuel shut off right here. Right in there. I think you can see it. It's right there. It's a little bit dark outside, but I'm going to just turn that off and shut that fuel off. With the fuel off, I still have a bowl of fuel. So just because you shut the fuel off doesn't mean the motor can't start up. And I always like to run out the motor at the end of the night. We just got done flying. I just landed, and it's getting a little dark outside. So what I like to do is before I pack it away, whether I'm going to lay it down, tip it down, whether I leave it standing up, whether I'm traveling with it on the back of a trailer or in the back of the car, I always like to run out my fuel out of the bowl. The float bowl is underneath the carburetor and it still has fuel in it. So with a hot ignition, you can always still start it. It's a lot safer to drain that bowl because if you got some of those curious friends and kids that like to spin a propeller, it's one of the ways to make it a little bit safer. As I said in my other video, we don't like extra master cutoff switches. It's more to go bad. The other guy's got 50 switches, and you know it's just nonsense, and it's always going bad. Ours is always hot. You just have to use your brain and not be a dummy and not leave it in a position where kids can come and play with it. And but by doing this, you're making it safer because then it can't start. So I'm going to run this out, but I want you to pay attention. We got a stopwatch here. Larry's got a stopwatch, and we're going to time just how long this will run on just barely a shot glass full of fuel. Now watch this. We're going to start it up. Now Larry, as soon as I pull this, I want you to start that, and as soon as the motor stops and the prop stops spinning, hit the thing, and let's see how long it took watch how long this runs. It's unbelievable. And this is a 312 cc Fresh Breeze monster motor, not to be confused with that garbage motor, the Moster. That is an absolute piece of crap. If you've heard my other rants about that, I don't know why anybody even wants to fly this. It's a mechanical nightmare, high vibration, and it's only 185 cc, so they overwind it to get the power out of it. It's a Viterazzi Moster. This is a monster. I don't know why they chose a name so close to ours. I think they wanted people to buy their product, but it's nothing but headaches. But watch this monster, 312 cc's. That's a lot of piston in there, and yet watch how long this thing runs. You ready, Larry?
Ready.
Here we go. And the Fresh Breezes are pretty quiet. And even at idle, you can hear me talking, I'm sure. And we're just going to let it run out. That's almost, we're at 19 seconds. You want to bring the camera in and focus down right here. You can also look at the timer on your. I mean, all this time, that motor's running off that little tiny shot glass. That piston's going up and down inside that cylinder. It's at idle with a 4-bladed propeller system and a 312 cc motor. So this is the motor that flew Big Polly and some of our heavier guys. And Jack here, Jack Struthers sitting over there. Pan over to Jack. American hero, always wearing something with an American flag on it. He's 280 pounds of man, and that's what he flies. This is his machine, and this is what I personally fly. I love the fly pond trike. I like triking better than foot launch. I'm good at foot launching, but I enjoy the maneuverability and all the extra things you can do with a trike. We're well over a minute already, and as you can see, it's still running. A 312cc motor on a shot glass of fuel. Look at that. This is why I love them. You get, you know, that little tank can give you hours of flying, where the other ones you have to strap on a second tank sometimes to get the kind of a fuel efficient. And the nice thing about a fresh breeze, with the high energy ignition and the better carburation, it starts on the first pole. Did yours start on the second pole?
Second pole.
Oh, that's the Monster. The Monster takes 2 poles. Second pole out of the box. Some people think we're lying about that. Our trolls and our haters absolutely hate that. It's starting to wind down. Motor's still running. We're almost at 2 minutes of running with a 312cc motor. We made 2 minutes already. It's starting to suck up the last bit of fuel in that ball, and still running. Come on, baby. Look at that. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Still running. She's sucking every little last drop, bit by bit. You know, these things just chirp away at the fuel. And man, they start up so easy. I love them. They got a good old-fashioned choke. You put the choke on, you pull the cord, and they just keep running. It's amazing. Look at that. Still running.
My arm's getting tired.
He's starting to... His arm's getting tired, but that fresh breeze still running. Come on, old timer. Hang in there. Hang in there. Oh, bam. Almost 3 minutes. 2 minutes and 47 seconds on a shot glass full of fuel with a 312cc motor. Man, you are not going to get that kind of fuel efficiency out of a diaphragm carburetor. Not to mention, you don't have the diaphragm carburetor problems of rebuilding all the time, constantly adjusting them for temperature because they expand, contract. There's no primer bulbs to go bad. We're not pumping fuel uphill. We got a tank at the top, so gravity feeds it. So we got no primer bulbs to go bad, no fuel pumps to go bad, no diaphragms to replace, and look at that efficiency and how well that runs on that just for that length of time. So I just wanted to share that with you tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me.